On our broadcast tonight, the BTC CEO reconnects with the corporation, promising to address the glitches in the system.
The Water and Sewage Corporation now has a new acting chairman on board. Find out his plan coming up in the Bahamas tonight.
And tragedy mars a happy homecoming. The Bahamas tonight, the national report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Everyday.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kishla Adderley.
And I'm Andrew Knowles. Thanks for joining us on The Bahamas Tonight.
Well, topping the news tonight, the BTC CEO, Leon Williams, says his return to the corporation will be marked by significant improvements in service at the telecoms company. He made the declaration during an exclusive interview with ZNS News at Government House last evening.
It's the first time the CEO has spoken to the media on issues affecting the company since beginning work nearly a week ago. He spoke with our LaDon Davis.
Reduced drop calls to restructuring, the Bahamas Telecommunications Company will see quite a changeover in the coming weeks. In fact, those internal adjustments began a few days ago when the company's new CEO, Leon Williams, took office. Williams, who spoke exclusively with ZNS News, says he recognizes the challenge of BTC service and says they've already begun to address the technical issues.
We have started to install already on the east-west highway right outside R.M. Bailey Park. You would note that we put up what we refer to as a cow, cellular on wheels. That is to assist with the drop calls on that highway. Also, if you go down Bahama Boulevard, right opposite Bahama, you'll see another cow was installed on the weekend. So there are about 17 more cell sites we intend to install in New Providence over the next couple of weeks.
Williams, who previously served as CEO of BTC, admits that it's harder than the first time around, but he says he's up for the challenge.
There are just 700 staff compared to 1,200 when I was there the first time. Revenues are flat. There are many changes. So I ran into executives that I don't know. 12 of the executives that I knew when I was there are no longer, and I mean senior executives, are no longer at the company. And so reorganizing the company is something that I started yesterday. And so there'll be a major reorganization of the structure of BTC over the next 30 days. So I've got a 30-day agenda, a 60-day agenda, and a 90-day agenda.
The new CEO also acknowledged that there have been changes taking place at BTC prior to assuming the top post, most notably service remaining up during the recent blackout, which is an improvement in itself.
Note that there was a power failure, an island-wide power failure. The telephone systems did not go down. If you recall that in 2012 and 2014, with a island-wide power failure, the BTC telecommunications network just had a meltdown.
Now, the new CEO says it will get worse before it gets better, but he assures customers that between September and October, they can expect to feel the impact of those changes. LaDon Davis, ZNS Network News.
The financially challenged Water and Sewage Corporation now has an acting chairman at the helm following the retirement of Chairman Bradley Roberts December past. Former board member Lester Cox is charged with the mammoth task of managing the corporation's menacing non-revenue water problem. He says it's crucial to increasing efficiency and improving revenue at the corporation. Here's Charisma Robinson.
He's no stranger to the Water and Sewage Corporation, but now acting chairman Lester Cox says it's time to get it right.
Water is a national security issue. Without water, a nation can't survive.
There are two immediate issues he says remain a challenge.
One of the big things that we're concerned about or we're dealing with is something called the red water issue and the loss of water that we've been having over the last, I would say, since the 90s. It's been a menace to our country.
The former government signed an $82 million contract with Israeli company MIA in 2012 to deal with the non-revenue water issue. We've been losing over the years about 50% of our water, which equates to millions of dollars annually.
They are in the process as we speak of checking for leakages throughout New Providence. We're basically in New Providence at the moment. We're about 2 years into that project already, which should be completed the initial phase in 2017. It's a 5-year performance-based project.
He says they are seeing a reduction.
We started, for example, losing about the figures about 6.5, 6.7 million imperial gallons a day of water, and even in the last year and a half or so, we're down to losing about, I think it's 5 million around there. So we have already started to see the effects of cutting down.
Cox says the goal is to get non-revenue water down to about 2 million by 2017.
And then, of course, managing it, keeping it at that level. And so this is 2014, so we have 3 years basically, or 2.5 years, basically to ensure that we're down to 2 million imperial gallons a day.
And more importantly, the acting chairman says his goal is to get the corporation away from a government subsidy entity and make it more efficient, self-sustaining, and profitable. Over the years, the Water and Sewage Corporation has been receiving at least $30 million in government revenue annually. Charisma Robinson, ZNS Network News.
There's been a lot of criticism over that U.S. state report on investment in the Bahamas lately.
But despite the criticisms, Janaea Noel Ferguson tells us tonight that the Minister of State for Investments is confident that investor relations have not been tarnished.
Minister of State for Investment in the Office of the Prime Minister, Kailash Roll, says the highly critical U.S. state report on the investment climate in the country is not expected to have an adverse effect with investor relations going forward.
If you really look at the details of that report, it had nothing to do with foreign direct investment. It had more to do with individuals or companies looking to do business with the government contracts, government procurement, which is a lot different than an individual coming to invest in the country.
In fact, the report applauded the government for doing more to assist the investment promotion and facilitation through the appointment of a Minister of Grand Bahama and the appointment of a Minister of Investment. The report notes that these initiatives, with the support from the current investment infrastructure, have maintained foreign direct investment net flows above $500 million and encouraged significant partnerships with various countries.
We have a lot of progress to be made. If you look at the new Investor magazine, many of the system deficiencies that have been identified, we identified them when we came into office. And that's why I went to the IDB and got the technical cooperation to reform the government investment process on the procurement end as well as the foreign direct investment end. That's the reason why we decided to go with a national development plan. That plan will help us to solve all of these problems.
Now, over the years, Roll admits that the country has been managed in a fragmented way, and the government is pushing a national plan so that many concerns expressed, along with reforms in the system.
We're still very early in the process because we're going through the procurement process with the IDB. The consultants haven't been appointed as yet, and we're hoping to have the consultants appointed by mid-August. And once that's done, then the real process, the real work starts.
Now, Roll says Bahamians can also expect for the national deficit to be lowered with the implementation of a national plan. Janaea Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Well, still ahead tonight, the Labor Minister's take on changes at Atlantis.
Hundreds flocked to Government House to celebrate the country's 41st anniversary of independence. That story coming up in the Bahamas tonight.
This segment of the news is brought to you by Shell Quality Fuels.